Today we're tackling a really fascinating project, trying to understand Robert Greene's, well, potent insights through a more contemporary lens.
Right. We're diving into Michael Tower's The Tapestry of Power. It's framed as weaving Robert Greene's wisdom with new insights from human psychology. Basically, a companion guide.
Exactly. And our mission really is to see how Tower takes those core Greene principles, power, influence, strategy, human nature, self-awareness, all that stuff.
And connects them with what modern psychology, neuroscience, behavioral science are telling us now. The goal is to make it valuable for you, our listener, offering actionable insights, not just theory.
And we've got two main things to guide us. First, obviously, is Michael Tower's book, The Tapestry of Power.
And second, there's this really practical tool alongside it, the Power Persona Blueprint template. Sounds useful for actually applying these ideas, like self-assessment and maybe crafting your own approach.
Yeah, it looks like a hands-on component.
And, many of you listening are probably familiar with Greene's books 48 Laws, Mastery, Laws of Human Nature. He often draws on these deep historical examples.
Right. They stand alone, but they cover related ground.
What Tower seems to be doing in Tapestry of Power is, well, weaving those threads together, like the title says. But more than that, he's trying to bridge a gap.
What kind of gap?
Between Greene's often historical or observational insights and the science behind why they work. Why do these patterns he identified centuries ago still resonate? It's about getting beyond just the what to the why using modern research.
Okay, interesting. So moving beyond just reading the individual books in isolation.
Precisely. Understanding the underlying mechanisms.
All right, let's dig in, starting with the foundation. Power itself. Greene's take on power, it's not just simple control, is it?
No, not at all. It's definitely multifaceted. There's control, sure, but also influence swaying people and maybe most fundamentally, that power over yourself. Self-mastery.
And this is where Tower layers on the modern science.
Exactly. He brings in the neurobiology. Take dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. Studies show achieving social status, getting that recognition, triggers dopamine release.
So when Greene talks about power being addictive, like in Never Outshine the Master, Tower is saying there's a literal chemical basis for that.
Sort of, yeah.
Oh.
It suggests why it feels so good, why we might crave it.
Right.
It's rooted in our brain's reward circuits. And then there's serotonin linked to confidence, that quiet assurance Greene values in mastery,
Okay.
and testosterone, associated with the drive for dominance, sensitivity to status, challenges another biological layer to those competitive dynamics Greene explores everywhere.
That does add a whole new dimension. Tower also mentions the amygdala, right? Our brain's sort of threat detector.
Yeah, constantly scanning social cues for power dynamics, threats, opportunities. It lines up perfectly with Greene's emphasis on reading people, like in Laws of Human Nature.
But it's not just primal reactions.
No, and that's crucial. Tower highlights the prefrontal cortex, our executive function center. Strategic thinking, impulse control. Absolutely vital for actually using the complex strategies Greene lays out, not just reacting.
Right. You need the strategy part, not just the instinct.
And Tower really underscores that power isn't just raw authority. It's fundamentally about managing perceptions. He connects it directly to social psychology, the concept of impression management.
Meaning we're all kind of shaping how others see us?
To some extent, yes. Consciously or unconsciously. It's a core part of social interaction.
Which makes me think about cognitive biases. Tower brings those in too, doesn't he? Like the halo effect?
Absolutely. The halo effect, where one good trait makes us assume someone has others, that directly feeds into Greene's Law 34, be royal in your own fashion.
Yeah.
Project confidence, and people might unconsciously assume competence too.
And confirmation bias, our tendency to look for stuff that confirms what we already think.
Yes. That explains why first impressions or established reputations can be so sticky. Once a perception is set, we tend to filter information to fit it. Super relevant online and offline.
But there's a catch, isn't there? Something about the power paradox.
Ah, yes. Tower highlights this, drawing on Kellner's research. It's a really crucial point. The paradox is that the very things that often help people get power, like empathy, collaboration, being attuned to others.
So soft skills almost.
Right. Those can actually start to erode once power is attained. It's like power itself can subtly change how the brain works, leading to less empathy, more impulsivity.
Wow. So connecting that back to Greene, what's the big takeaway?
It hammers home the importance of that self-awareness Greene talks about constantly, especially in the Laws of Human Nature and the long-term view for mastery. Just getting power isn't enough. You have to be vigilant about its potential downsides, how it might change you.
Constant vigilance.
Okay, let's shift gears to human nature itself. Greene certainly doesn't paint a rosy picture. Sometimes envy, irrationality, grandiosity. He definitely dives into the darker aspects. Tower acknowledges those too, but he adds another layer with self-determination theory, or SDT.
SDT, what's that?
It's a major theory in psychology. It suggests we all have these three basic innate psychological needs. First, autonomy, feeling like you have control, choice in your life.
Okay.
Second, competence and need to feel effective, capable, to master things. And third, relatedness, the desire for meaningful connections, belonging.
Right. Autonomy, competence, relatedness. How does that map onto Greene?
Well, think about autonomy. Greene often shows how stifling it is to be under someone else's total control, right? That directly clashes with our need for autonomy. Competence, that's the heart of mastery, isn't it?
Right.
That drive to get good at something.
Yeah, definitely.
And relatedness connects to the power of alliances in 33 Strategies of War, or even how lack of connection is exploited in the art of seduction. Understanding these core needs helps explain why certain strategies work or fail.
It gives a motivational framework.
Exactly. And Tower also revisits those cognitive biases here, calling them the mind's funhouse mirrors, how they distort our view of reality and lead to that irrationality Greene observes.
So, confirmation bias again.
Yep, he points out how it helps solidify alliances. We look for proof our allies are good, but also how it makes strategic deception work. People see what they expect to see.
What about others? Fundamental attribution error.
Ah, that's a big one. Our tendency to blame others' behavior on their character, he's just lazy, while excusing our own based on the situation. I was having a bad day. Crucial for interpreting people's actions accurately or inaccurately.
And the Dunning-Kruger effect. I feel like we see that everywhere.
Oh yeah, people who are incompetent being blissfully unaware of it, even overestimating their skills. Greene's histories are full of characters like that. Tower links it to Law 28, interaction with boldness, but warns about mistaking ignorance for boldness.
Good distinction. What else? Sunk cost fallacy.
Right, getting stuck throwing good money or effort after bad just because you've already invested. Directly contradicts the strategic thinking in 33 strategies. And the availability heuristic, basing judgments on information that just pops into your head easily, even if it's rare or unrepresentative.
So, knowing these biases gives you a kind of decoder ring for human behavior.
Pretty much. Tower argues it helps understand why people act the way they do, often predictably irrationally. And he connects all this to emotional intelligence, EQ, not just as a nice-to-have, but as a core strategic tool.
How does he frame EQ?
He draws on the Mayer-Salovey model. It's about 4 key abilities: perceiving emotions accurately in yourself and others.
Which is vital for Greene's constant advice to read people.
Exactly. Then, using emotions to facilitate thinking, like how a seducer in Art of Seduction creates a specific mood. Third, understanding emotions grasping complex feelings like envy, which Greene analyzes in detail.
And the last one.
Managing emotions. Regulating your own, influencing others. Absolutely key for maintaining strategic calm, like in the 50th law. EQ becomes a way to navigate the emotional landscape Greene describes.
Makes sense. Okay, let's talk about mastery. Greene paints it as this long, demanding path, apprenticeship, practice, developing intuition.
Right, it's a journey. Tower brings in Csikszentmihalyi's concept of flow here, that state where you're totally absorbed, energized, focused.
In zone.
Yeah, exactly. Tower outlines the conditions: clear goals, immediate feedback, a good balance between the challenge and your skill level. He even mentions the possible neurological basis, transient hypofrontality,
Cleaning.
a temporary downregulation of the prefrontal cortex, the part involved in self-criticism and planning. Might explain that feeling of effortless action, almost like the work is doing itself, which sounds like Greene's creative active phase.
Interesting. And deliberate practice, how does that fit?
Tower contrasts it with just putting in hours. Based on Erickson's research, deliberate practice is very specific. Targeted goals, intense focus, constant feedback, repetition, and crucially, always pushing slices beyond your current abilities.
So much more structured and demanding than just showing up. Very much like Greene's apprenticeship model.
Precisely. It's about actively building skill, not just passively repeating. And Tower links this to mindset Carol Dweck's work.
Growth versus fixed mindset.
Right. Believing your abilities can be developed, a growth mindset is essential fuel for the long haul of deliberate practice and facing setbacks on the path to mastery. It fits perfectly with neuroplasticity, the idea that our brains can change, reinforcing Greene's point that mastery is achievable through effort.
Okay, so we have power dynamics, human nature, the path to mastery. How does this all come together in a practical way? This is where the persona crafting comes in.
Yes. Greene, especially in the 48 Laws, talks a lot about consciously shaping your appearance, controlling perceptions. Law 25, recreate yourself.
Right, presenting a specific image.
Tower builds on that but adds nuance. He suggests moving beyond just a static mask to developing an adaptive persona, one that's flexible but still rooted in genuine self-awareness. And this is where that power persona blueprint becomes a practical guide.
So how does the blueprint work? What are the steps?
Step one is assess your environment, really understanding the power dynamics where you operate, what traits are actually valued there, who the key players are, their motivations, potential threats, opportunities. The template even has an environment power mapping exercise.
Like situational awareness on steroids.
Okay, step two.
Know thyself. Brutal honesty time. What are your real strengths, weaknesses? What are your typical biases, your potential dark side traits? And what are your non-negotiable core values and boundaries? There are tools in the template for this, like a personal SWOT and values assessment.
So environment first, then self-awareness. Makes sense. Step three, shape perceptions. Now you decide consciously. Which parts of yourself do you want to emphasize in this environment? What communication style fits? How do you craft your narrative, your story? This connects right back to Greene's Law 1 and Art of Seduction.
And the blueprint helps with this.
Yeah, there's a persona blueprint exercise, and even defining your one-sentence identity. The template uses the structure. I am the X, who Y through Z, helps clarify your intended projection.
Okay. Step 4.
Build alliances. You
Yeah.
can't do it alone. Identifying potential allies, figuring out how to cultivate those relationships. Tower points to Cialdini's principles of influence here, and crucially, maintaining loyalty.
And the final step.
Step 5 is adapt dynamically. It's not set it and forget it. You need to constantly monitor feedback. How is your persona landing? Adjust your tactics. But, and this is key, strive to maintain authenticity beneath the adaptation. Don't become just a hollow mask.
So it's a continuous loop of assessment, action, and adjustment.
Exactly. It's dynamic.
So bringing this all together, Michael Tower's book, The Tapestry of Power, really acts as this bridge, doesn't it?
I think that's a great way to put it. It helps explain the why behind Greene's what. It weaves in the psychology, the neuroscience, to give a richer, maybe more scientifically grounded understanding of power, human nature, mastery, makes it more actionable today.
And that power persona blueprint sounds like it offers you, the listener, a really concrete place to start applying all this.
Definitely. It walks you through that self-assessment, they call it the compass check, thinking about archetypes maybe inspired by Greene's characters, understanding your own psychological drivers, planning alliances, managing appearance, even designing personal growth rituals.
It sounds like a practical toolkit.
Yeah, it moves it from just reading about power to actually thinking strategically about your own position and actions.
Which leads us to a final thought, something for you to chew on. How can consciously applying these integrated principles, power, human nature, persona crafting, how can that help you? Not just navigate the social world.
But maybe also lead to a deeper, more nuanced understanding of yourself and of other people too. Think about your own developing tapestry of power. What threads are you weaving? What kind of legacy, what kind of impact do you want that tapestry to represent?